Hey guys, today's a good day because it's a brew day. Doing an all grain today, doing a Moorland Old Speckled Hen clone. Haven't done it before, so be interesting. I was going to show you how I do it in this tiny kitchen. It's not expensive, it's not difficult, anyone can do it and you get really good beer out of it. So I was going to grind some grains up in my little hand mill. I'll show you some footage of that and take you through what I do. Cheers! Right, going into here now, we've got 315 grams of crystal malt and 24 grams of black malt. And the recipe also calls for 470 grams of white sugar, which obviously will go in to the boil. So let's just grind these up and we'll get some water heated up. As you can see, all the grain's been crushed. We've got the pale malt, crystal malt, chocolate malt, and I did add a little bit of torrefied wheat, which I usually do to my beers to give them a little bit more body. Just 200 grams of that went in. Alright, let's get brewing. Right, I've heated up some water, put it in the mash tun, closed the lid for about 15 minutes, let that heat through. While that was working, I've heated up the water for the dough in, which I'm now gingerly, with this rubber bucket. It's not rubber, it's plastic. It feels like rubber when it's hot. Pour that in there, shut the lid just for a couple of minutes. Right, 5 minutes has passed. Time to dough in the grains. I'll try and do this in 3 or 4 stages, stirring it after each one, because we don't want dough balls. One more to go. That's the lot. Right, final stir. Nice thick mash. That's all stirred. No lumps in that. No dough balls. Nice porridge consistency. Just how it should be. Checking the temperature. Bang on 66. Shut the lid for 90 minutes. Right, that's been 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. And I'm just going to take the first runnings out. Open the tap just a little bit. I know you can't see very much of this because my big head's in the way. Just opening the tap a little bit. And you get bits in the first few cupfuls of this. You can probably hear, just see the bottom of it, the Burko boiler, which I've got the sparge water in. Jug up. Tip it gently into the top so you don't disturb all the grains. And we do that 2 or 3 times, maybe 4, until it runs clear. Right, what I've done, 3 or 4 of those. It's not running reasonably clear, not any grains or anything in it. Took them back into here. I've now opened the tap very slightly. It's just trickling out. In fact, I could ease that off a bit. And then opening the tap for the sparge water. I think the mash tun, for those who are thinking of going all grain, this cost about £150. It's quite a lot of money, but it'll last a long time. The sparge arm was separate. I think that was about 20 quid. Just attach it with a piece of food grade hose to the Burko boiler. As soon as you open your tap, away it goes and spins and sparges as it goes. I'm sure you don't want to sit and watch this for the whole time, so I'll come back near the end. Cheers. As you can see, it's filling up nicely. I normally fill this little boiler up to around the 20 litre mark, and I put 4 or 5 litres into a spare fermenter and then top it up later on, because it won't take the whole batch. I usually end up with around 20 litres left, because it, not being propane, it doesn't boil away too much, so I end up with about 20 litres. So by the time I've taken trub into consideration and evaporation, I end up with around 19 litres, which is perfect for a keg. So I'll see you when we're ready for a boil. Right, as you can see, that's all in there. I have got about 6 litres left over to top it up later on. Just now going to add the 470 grams of sugar. that the recipe calls for. Nice stirring. Wait for that to come to the boil, and then I'll add my hops. See you in a bit. Right, just waiting for that to come to a boil to add my first hop addition, which is 32 grams of Challenger hops. Time to have a beer. It's not a home brew. St. Peter's IPA with the new hoppier taste. Toffee. Tastes like I'm eating a toffee. It's not overly hopped. It's pleasant. But ho hum. Not drinking a home brew because any of you that subscribe to my channel will know that I mentioned that I've got several bottles of craft ale on a shelf down here that I'm just not drinking. So I thought today I'll crack on, have a few of these. I had one earlier. Just grab the bottle. Don't know if you can see that. 04:O. That was a hoppy beer. That was nice. This one doesn't quite have that hop profile. Brilliant. Right. Let's wait for that to come to a boil. It won't be too long. I'll show you the boiler in a minute that I'm using, in case there's any people that are thinking of jumping to All Grain. 75 quid I think I'll pay for this. It's not expensive. It is a bucket type one. The next one up from this, I think it's £145. That's the solid boiler with the tap, which I may upgrade to when this one dies. But this is good enough for me. It does the job. It makes lovely beer. You've seen on my Homebrew Wednesday videos what the kind of beer that comes out of this. It's not that difficult. Okay. Be back when I'm boiling and I'm adding hops. Right, as you can see, that's come to a boil. Just going to add my Challenger hops. Give a little poke around, make sure they're not all stuck together. Set my timer for 1 hour 20 minutes, at which point I will add my second lot of hops, the Irish moss, and my wort chiller to sanitise it. Kitchen smells good. See you shortly. Only trouble with doing the All Grain is it does take an hour and a half to boil, which means you've got time on your hands. Now I've already sanitised my fermenter and that's all in there ready to go, full of sanitizer. So what can you do apart from drink another beer? This one, never had this one before either. Harvestoon Bitter and Twisted, 4.2% brewed in Scotland. So CQ01, I'm sure you've tried this. If you haven't, why not? Spicy, aromatic and zesty. Lovely beer. Lovely beer. Good body on it. I thought it was just going to be a fizzy pop when I saw it said blonde beer, but no, it's got plenty of body to it. It's lovely. Back shortly. Right, it's time to add in the flavour aroma hops. They're flavour hops actually, as they're going in. Last 10 minutes of the boil. Get them in. Need to add some Irish moss and my wort chiller to sanitise it. I'll be back when that's done. Right, sanitised wort chiller going in. I know I've already sanitised it, but I like to put it in 10 minutes before the end. Whack the boil up because it does knock it back a bit because it's cold. I'll connect it all up and be with you back at flame out. Cheers. Right, just cooling the wort down, flame out, wort chiller's running, nice and clean, if you can see that. I'm sanitising and putting it in here. To get my thermometer. Let's check it in a while because it needs to be between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I can't remember how much the wort chiller was. But I think we got most of my supplies at the time from homebrewshop.co.uk. That's where I got all my hardware from. I don't think the boiler came from there. That came from somewhere different because it was 20 quid cheaper from somewhere else. I can't remember where. I'll have to look into it. But the mash tun, the two glass carboys that I got, the wort chiller, various other bits and pieces. I went down to homebrewshop.co.uk, which is down in Farnham, and just spent a few quid to get the stuff that I needed to suit me for where I live in this small house. To make all grain beer. So, cooling that down, I'll come back to you when it's near temperature. Right, I'm chilling this down now with said wort chiller. Just check the temperature. With my cheap thermometer that someone said wasn't accurate, but it is 107.6 at the moment. Need to get it down between, as you all know, between 70 and 80 degrees. So I'll keep chilling it down, moving the wort chiller about. I've got my sanitised fermenter ready for it. And I'll see you when I'm ready to transfer it. Right, just checking the temperature now. If you can see that. But it's saying 81.7. Which is good enough for me. By the time I knock the wort chiller out, get it into the fermenter, it should be high end 80s, pitch my yeast and let it cool down. So I'll see you when I pitch the yeast. Right, if you can see that, that is just under the 20 litre mark. About to pitch my yeast. Which is, as usual with me, unless I buy a smack pack, which is the Safal SO4, come on, focus. There you go, Safal SO4, what I usually use, unless I buy a smack pack for a specific beer. I'm going to whack this in the fermentation chamber, fermentation fridge, and let it rip. Right guys, there's the spent grains that we used in the mash tun. There's some over there for making dog treats with. Thanks to Lamo22 for that. Sorry the camera's shaky, I've had a few. Right, there's the boiler. Just lift that up in case there's any guys in the UK who want to have a look at that. Electrin boiler, that's the one I use, got a thermostat on it, on and off switch, controllable to what temperature you want. Into the brew room, a couple of kits that I've done. That's the Cooper's English Bitter with golden Lyle golden syrup with it. That is the Australian Pale Ale that I did last week, dry hopped with the Amarillo hops. And then what we've just put in there, the fermentation fridge, there is the old speckled hen clone. Just put in there, waiting for it to start bubbling away. Yeast is pitched as you saw. Temperature controller, keeping it at 20 degrees. Lights on because I've got the door open. Wallop, there you go. End of a brew day. Nice and easy. All grain is easy. You've got the right stuff to do it, and it takes a few hours, 4 or 5 hours of your time to brew the beer, cool it down, etc, etc. But what else are you going to do on a Saturday or a Sunday than brew yourself some lovely beer? I'm going to go upstairs now, get a home brew, and I'll finish this video off. Cheers guys. What it's all about, Black Sheep Ale, all grain, home brewed. This is why we do it. Not a clean glass because I've been having store-bought beers, as you've seen during the video. Right. There you go. Bring it up to the camera. You've seen it before. Nice and clear. Reasonable head on it. But it's all about the taste, not about the head or I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half a dozen shop bought beers today, but you can't beat your own all grain beer that's fresh. You've seen it before in my Homebrew Wednesday videos. It's a fresh beer, tasty. Alright, there's an initial outlay of stuff for mash tun and boiler, etc, etc. But once that's done, it's about 40p a pint. Where are you going to get that? I don't take into account electricity and stuff, but it's around 40p a pint. Look at it. If you're thinking of going all grain and you do your kits, do it. If you've never brewed before, do your kits first. I think Craig's mentioned it before. Do your kits and go to extract beers, then jump straight into your maybe mini mash and then do your all grain. I jumped from kits straight to all grain with no problem at all. Gives you a window. But I would recommend that if you're going to do it, go through the steps, because I'm now, you may have seen, I've gone back to kits, adding things to them. I have got an extract beer book somewhere in this house. I need to find it, maybe get myself a big brew pot and do some extract beers, and I wish I'd have gone through the steps to get to all grain. Not that it's affecting my all grain, it's not, but I just feel I missed out on a few steps along the way. So there it is, guys, that's how I do my all grain. It's not difficult. With the initial outlay of money, it's really not expensive. It's a couple of £100 up front, and you can make your own mash tun, make it a bit cheaper. If you go to Homebrew Wizard, he's got a channel, he made his own boiler, that's cheaper, do it that way. But I went and bought mine, done, dusted, ready to work on the day, and it works a treat. So, cheers, enjoy your homebrew, speak to you soon.